So we're really, really thrilled to be here this evening with Jericho Brown. Jericho, an American poet and writer, born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana. Jericho has worked as an educator in institutions such as the University of Houston, San Diego State University, and Emory University. His poems have been published in The Nation, New England Review, The New Republic, Oxford American, and The New Yorker, among others, a very impressive batch of magazines. He released his first book of prose and poetry, Please, in 2008, and his second book, The New Testament, was released in 2014. His 2019 collection of poems, The Tradition, garnered widespread critical acclaim. Now, Jericho has won many accolades, the most impressive, of course, being the 2020 Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. We'd like to really thank you for joining us tonight, Jericho. It's wonderful that you have agreed to do this. And off the back of that introduction, I'd like to just ask you, how did you feel when you found out that you'd won the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry?
I was very happy. I felt like it felt like a dream was coming true. And I've had that feeling before, it was the only dream that's ever come true that also meant um, that my emails would triple. So I've been very. I mean, I was sort of instantly busy. You win the Pulitzer Prize, but then the phone starts ringing, and I think since that day I've had more to do than I would have regularly had to do. So life has become a different kind of a balancing act, but one that I would rather have. I mean, I like having a Pulitzer Prize, so I was very happy about it.
So you've joined a long and illustrious list of names dating back decades and decades. How does it feel to know that your life's work will be forever acclaimed amongst those kind of names?
Um, maybe I hadn't thought about it. I mean, maybe I have thought about it, but maybe I push it aside almost as soon as I think about it. If I think about that, then I can't think about that too much because then I'll rest on it. Do you know what I mean? And then I still have a lot of work to do. I'll never get any work done. Do you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
also true that that book, whether it would have won the Pulitzer Prize or not, the process of writing the tradition um, was just a lot of pressure that I hadn't felt before when writing a book. It's my third book, but it was the first book that got done the way it got done and under the kind of spell that it got written. And I think whether I had written a book or not, it would be hard, honestly, to turn to anything else after having that experience. And so I'm trying not to think about how great that experience is because then I'll just spend all my time trying to make that experience happen again. And every book has to be new, and I need to make my poems new to me. So I hadn't thought about it. I sort of to be honest with you, I have this poem in my first book called Tin Man, and it's a contrapuntal poem. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's a contrapuntal sonnet, though maybe no critic ever noticed. And I really felt like after I had written that poem, I'll never forget this. And I wrote the poem when I was still in school. I was in graduate school when I wrote the poem. And I remember when I wrote the poem, I was like, oh, good, I'm taken care of. There's always something in the world that people will be able to say that I made that is not like anything else. Do you know what I mean? So I think maybe I already had that feeling um, about my work. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe no poet should have that feeling, but I did. Forgive me that I am not humble. But I did have that feeling, and um, I sort of had that feeling even while I was making the duplexes, the form that I invented that's featured in the latest book, The Tradition. I did indeed feel like, oh, this is a gift that I can give. I can contribute this. I can send this out, and people will do what they will with it. So the Pulitzer, I think, codifies that all the more, right? Um, but the work, I think, is what does it the most. I mean, there are no shade, but there are plenty of Pulitzer Prize winners that will not be. read again, or that I don't want to read. Do you know what I mean? But then again, it is true. There are a lot of Pulitzer Prize winners that I admire a great deal, and whose work over the years, many of them long dead, whose work continues to inspire me. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to finally have something in common with Robert Frost other than being curmudgeonly. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's cool. Robert Frost, I think, had 3 or 4 Pulitzers, so maybe I'll get 3 or 4 and we can have more in common.